I guess we're recording a video tonight. I guess we're recording a video tonight. I am filming the police as well within my legal right to do, because I guess we have visitors. Hello, I'm filming. How is your night going?
Sure.
Just make sure you stay the 6 feet back, okay? Because you don't have a mask on.
It's kind of hard when you have unexpected visitors.
Okay. All right, man. So just so you know, we're gonna document what happened today. Just an incident report, okay? Sure you can. Okay, man. That's fine. You can do that, okay? Sergeant Chabonet. Sergeant, yes. All right, man. Have a good night.
Stressing an autistic kid out real nice. Yeah, they're stressing an autistic kid out. What the hell is all this crap? Do you see what they put on the stairs? Do you see what they put on the stairs? I'd like this documented. What's on this? Nikolai, what are you doing? Nikolai, go inside. Go inside, Nikolai. This is what you do.
6 feet, please, ma'am. You don't have a mask.
Nikolai, you need to go inside. I bet it's a good life being a cop. I bet it's a good life. I am filming the police as well within my legal right to do, because I guess we have visitors. Hello, I'm filming. How is your night going?
Sure.
Just make sure you stay the 6 feet back, okay? Because you don't have a mask on.
It's kind of hard when you have unexpected visitors.
Okay. All right, man. So just so you know, we're gonna document what happened today. Just an incident report, okay, ma'am? Sure you can. Okay, ma'am. That's fine. You can do that, okay? Sergeant Chabonet. Sergeant, yes. All right, man. Have a good night.
Stressing an autistic kid out real nice. Yeah, they're stressing an autistic kid out. What the hell is all this crap? Do you see what they put on the stairs? Do you see what they put on the stairs? I'd like this documented. What's on this?
Just leave it alone.
Nikolai, what are you doing? Nikolai, go inside. Go inside, Nikolai. This is what you do.
6 feet, please, ma'am. You don't have a mask.
Nikolai, you need to go inside. I bet it's a good life being a cop. I bet it's a good life. I guess we're recording a video tonight. I guess we're recording a video tonight. I am filming the police as well within my legal right to do, because...
What's up, ladies and gentlemen? It's the Resistance. Shout out to everybody in the chat. Then what's going on? Terry Barker, Mike Allison, Star Child, Miss B, what's going on? Izzy1369, OG Perfect Sense, how y'all doing? Yeah, hope y'all seen the video I put out a little bit earlier. Got invited by special guest Maria Crumb. They had called me, told me it was a situation going on about an hour and a half ago. Lucifer Crumb called me himself personally, said that he had a situation. Police were, he was threatened to be arrested. I came here, didn't make it in time, but I decided to sit here because they got a little story to tell. So, if y'all ain't got nothing to do, y'all sitting around chilling, get your popcorn, your candy bars, and hear about the corruption of Boston. So anyway, this is their latest current events with Boston police. That was the daughter, Tatiana Crumb, who was recording the police in the front of her house, threatening Joseph Crumb on the other side of the door that I guess he would be arrested. But they weren't able to get the door open because Joseph is smart enough to not open the door, and they had to walk away. So I'm gonna play this for y'all one more time. Can you take it back for me real quick? I can check it out one more time before we get this interview going on with Maria Crumb. Hopefully we could get Joseph in the mix later too.
I guess we're recording a video tonight. I guess we're recording a video tonight. I am filming the police as well within my legal right to do, because I guess we have visitors. Hello, I'm filming. How is your night going?
Sure.
Just make sure you stay the 6 feet back, okay? Because you don't have a mask on.
It's kind of hard when you have unexpected visitors.
Okay. All right, man. So just so you know, we're gonna document what happened today, just on an incident report, okay, man? Sure you can. Okay, man. That's fine. You can do that, okay? Sergeant Chabonet. Sergeant, yes. All right, man. Have a good night.
Stressing an autistic kid out real nice. What the hell is all this crap? Do you see what they put on the stairs? Do you see what they put on the stairs? I'd like this documented. What's on this? Nikolai, what are you doing? Nikolai, go inside. Go inside, Nikolai. This is what you do.
6 feet, please, ma'am. You don't have a mask.
Nikolai, you need to go inside. I bet it's a good life being.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we got Maria Crumb in the house. Shout out to Maria Crumb, or should I say she got me at her house. She invited me over. Got a few things to say. So, how you doing tonight, Maria?
Yeah. Okay. How you doing?
I'm good. I wanted to get into that sign that I recorded earlier. What's the history of that sign out there that you got going on out there?
Yeah. So we put that sign up in March of 2018. And the sign, it says Boston Police Rape Kids. It's pretty big. It's the size of the whole window, basically. And the history behind it is it's a protest sign because the police have failed to take any action to investigate crime. So the police in Massachusetts are mandated reporters, which means that if somebody reports a crime involving abuse of an underage minor, they're required to look into it and investigate it. Between 2014 and 2016, 17, for years, my husband and our daughter spent I don't know how many times trying to report rapes and molestations of underage minors that were going on around Boston Latin School. And this was between students. So students would basically, upperclassmen in the upper grades, would have parties with alcohol and drugs, and they'd invite younger class girl students, female students out in West Roxbury. And then they'd end up taking nude photos and, recording sex and molestation. These girls were underage, and a lot of the boys were 18.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, our daughter told us about some of this stuff, rumors, and and she had seen, videos of leaked nudes of girls and all kinds of stuff. And so her father and her tried to report it to the police over and over and over again. The police threw them out of the stations, threw Losif out. They didn't want to hear about it. The mayor arranged a meeting with people from the DA, from Dan Conley's office. They didn't want to hear about it. Her phone was confiscated by the police as part of a sexting investigation, and a kid got suspended. And
So she was involved in an investigation that had to
She
do
was.
with a rape.
yeah, her phone was.
But prior to
confiscated.
that, when Losif and she went to the police about complaining about rapes that happened, they didn't have anything to say about that. They didn't want to hear
They
anything.
didn't want to take a report. They refused to take a report, and they told him basically to get out of the station.
Mm-hmm.
And the threat was that they would arrest him. They didn't say as much, but that was a threat. If he didn't get out of the station, they're going to arrest him. And they're mandated reporters. They're supposed to do this. So after like several years of this, by 2018, it's okay, they're not going to investigate, just total inaction. So we put up basically Boston police rape kids. Literally, they're not raping the kids.
Right.
But it's like, you remember the Boston Globe, that Spotlight report with the molestation by priests of kids.
And what year was that, around?
Back in the 90s and 80s. It
Okay.
went on for like decades. Cops, priests were molesting kids. They'd be like reassigned to different parishes, in the state and out of the state. We live right near St. Margaret's Church. That was like where this one guy, John Geoghegan, I believe is his name. He had like over 100 kids he'd molested. The police never did anything about him then. It's like these people in a position of authority, they don't get that spotlight on them. And then years later, everybody's like, oh, if only somebody had said something, if only somebody had spoken out.
So when you guys put the sign up,
yeah,
what happened after that?
Oh, all hell blew up for us. Like the very next day, my neighbor is sending me a text asking me to take down the sign. He doesn't feel comfortable with it. My other neighbor says, telling me people have been calling him about it. He doesn't say who.
Mm-hmm.
His mom comes over here and yelling and threatening us, telling us we got to take it down. That if we don't take it down, like a lot of police families around here, if we call 911.
So at this point, you're just receiving harassment from people, neighbors, and people within the community.
Yeah.
And not anything from police at all at this time, right?
Right.
Okay, so you're receiving the harassment from the people in the community. How long does this last?
It's still going on. It's 2.5, 3 years.
Uh-huh.
So, my neighbor filed a civil suit against me. He's trying to get an injunction forcing me to take the sign down.
So you're receiving all this harassment because of your freedom of speech, because of the sign that says Boston police rapes kids.
Exactly.
Can I just dip out real quick to get a quick shot of that sign being still on live? I'm gonna come right back.
All right.
For those who haven't seen the sign, I just want to show y'all real quick. Here we go right here. Boston police rapes kids. And it's not them actually literally raping kids, as it says in the window, but it's them actually allowing it to happen. These people are claiming that they made complaints to police numerous of times because their daughter attends the school where multiple rapes happen. So we're going to get back to Maria's Crumb story. So, Maria, when did the police actually start to get involved? Was it because of them being offended by the sign itself, or was it because of the uproar of the people in the community and your neighbors that had a problem with the sign?
it was because of the uproar of the neighbors, basically. I mean, basically, my neighbors started tearing up all my flowers one night, so I had to make a 911 call. And
You got a video of that, right?
yeah, I do have a video of it.
Okay. Is it in the chip that you put it in?
Yeah.
Okay. We'll get to that later
All right.
in a little bit. So.
And then it's my neighbors. They keep calling the police on us, calling 911, framing us. Well, we haven't done anything. They just keep acting like we're doing criminal stuff. So the police themselves haven't been the ones who have been coming and harassing me over the sign. It's like the people around me.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not all one way. Like, some people come by and they love the sign.
Mm-hmm.
And people have taken selfies of themselves.
Has media been out here as well?
Not really.
They don't want to come nowhere near it,
No,
right?
people don't like to touch it. Yeah,
Right.
this isn't something sanctioned. They go to where they feel like it's okay.
So let me just ask you. So actually, like you said, the sign, it says Boston police rape kids. Now, like you said earlier, they actually are not raping kids, but it's it's synonymous to them allowing it to let it happen.
Exactly.
So that's
They're standing down. They're refusing to investigate crimes. They're mandated reporters supposed to investigate crimes that are
Why do
reported.
you think that? The most to do
Why
it.
do I think
Any
that?
of their children
I'll tell you
attend
why.
that school, or is
Yeah,
that like
Boston Latin School is this shining symbol in this town, to everyone. You ask any parent, and what do they want? They want their kids to go to Boston Latin School and then to Harvard, because it's like a pipeline practically.
Mm-hmm.
And these parties were out in West Roxbury. A lot of the politically connected class in Boston lives out in West Roxbury. A lot of the cops, a lot of the nurses, a lot of the politicians, a lot of the kids who go to Boston Latin School, they're all white, they're all rich.
Mm-hmm.
So this is like a class thing, and it's a racialized thing. And they don't want to go and investigate someone, and it turns out to be the son of some municipal court judge, or the son of like some big sergeant detective in the police department, or some attorney, or some respectable figure in the community.
Right.
It's a lot of pressure, Those aren't the kids you're supposed to be arresting. You're supposed to be arresting the kids in the ghetto who don't have that thing where it's going to make a media splash, and it's going to, they're supposed to be the people who've got the privilege and get the free pass.
Right. So
that's why nobody wants to touch it.
Gotcha.
It's like that.
And how long you think this been going on over there at Latin School? Was it just for those certain amount of years? Do you think any?
I think it's been going on for a long time.
You think it's still going on?
Yeah, I think it's still going on. Well, there was
in Latin School, that's located in West Roxbury?
No, that's down near Longwood Medical area on Louis Pasteur.
So Longwood area.
It's where Harvard Medical School is down there.
Okay.
And it's a really nice part of town where all the museums are. And all the nice institutions, it's
Right. So how far did you guys take this with these complaints? Like, how high up did it reach? I heard you mention something about Connolly.
Complaining to people?
Yeah.
Well, so Losif went and Tatiana went to the Boston police. They went to, I think, internal affairs. They went to the mayor. We complained about it at the school committee. We used to be involved with like a PTA type thing. The Boston, I forget, it was the parent, CPC. It's like one of these PTA groups. We went there. We talked about it at community meetings here where the city councilor was, like Anissa Esaibi George. She was like the city councilor at large now.
Mm-hmm.
They went to the mayor's office. They went to the DA called me, or he had somebody from his office call me and tell me that Tatiana should get counseling. They didn't say why. So that's, within the city, pretty much, but at the level of the mayor, the city council, the Suffolk County DA. So
Your daughter, was she going through bad experiences at school after those reported claims
she
that
had
they
to
made
leave Boston Latin School.
because of that?
Yeah, she ended up in the hospital twice, trying to self-harm um, because she's going crazy from all the stuff going on around her, and yeah, she couldn't finish Boston Latin School.
So basically, because you guys were trying to
She
report
wasn't even
a
finished.
bad thing that happened, and from what you're saying, happened for years, pretty much got ostracized within your community, and
Yeah,
they pretty much gave you a cold shoulder at the police station. And this has been going on for quite a amount of years. So pretty
since
much anytime you come in
2014.
contact with police, it's problems, right?
Yeah, pretty much. That's how it's been.
And safe to say, would you say you feel comfortable within your own home?
No, I feel like I feel like a prisoner here.
Wow. So
Because
we seen some footage in the beginning of some police activity, and that was right there at your front door.
yeah,
And that's just one of the many things that you guys go through
my neighbors.
since 2014, right?
Yeah, my neighbors threw stuff all over the stairwell. They've left the door open. I live on the first floor here, and they've left the front door of the building open at least a half dozen times a day for the last 6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Christmas Eve, technically Christmas Day, because I think it was after midnight, somebody came in and they stole my bike from the front hallway there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, they just facilitated that totally, just leaving the front door open for 6 months. The bike was locked to itself. Somebody with a car, I'm imagining, came in
And
and
all
took
this
it.
stems from your sign in the window.
Yeah,
Mm-hmm. Your free speech, your First Amendment.
yeah, they just not in with that. Not for this, anyway.
Wow. I'm sorry to hear that. I'm sorry you guys have went through these horrible situations. Uh, Tell me, you're Maria Crumb. So tell me a little bit about Losef Crumb. Who is Losef Crumb? And what brought Losef Crumb to what he does now?
So Losef is, uh, so Losef and I have 2 kids. So our older son Nikolai has autism, and Losef's been basically the person who's here when therapists came all throughout his school career. Like, he's 23 now, but since he was 3, he's been getting all different types of therapists coming in and stuff here at the house, and he's really been involved with both of them. And so when my daughter was having all this trouble at Boston Latin School, like, he's the at-home parent and I'm the one who's working outside, it was him who was, going down to the hospital and being there and stuff and having to see everything she's going through firsthand.
Mm-hmm.
So so he's had to live with a lot of that, like, much closer than I did
Right.
at that point. And he's a really smart guy, and he comes from his background. His parents were social activists. They went down and they marched in Alabama
Mm-hmm.
during the civil rights
Mm-hmm.
things in the 60s, and he's just that. And his grandfather was also a reverend, a Unitarian minister. So he comes from a long line of this kind of social justice framing of things, and so he doesn't like to see that, and he doesn't like it when he's very strict about the law. So he doesn't like it when.
I'm glad you explained that, because a lot of my viewers who watch who have watched Losef Crumb's videos in the past, a lot of them have it misconstrued that he doesn't know much. So I'm glad you, as his wife, explain who he is and what his past is and where his knowledge comes from, because I've known it. A lot of people who watch his videos get it misconstrued because of what he says or how he says it. And I always tell people, don't pay attention to the auditor, just pay attention to the corruption that's going on.
Yeah.
It get caught up with in the whirlwind of what the auditor says. Unless he's going about it the wrong way, then okay, pay attention. But if he's going about it within lines and not breaking any crime, then you pay attention to what's going on. And I think a lot of people who view auditing videos get it a little misconstrued and wants the auditor to be the star or the cowboy that's riding off in the sunset when it's not like that. If it
No,
was,
he's
it
a
wouldn't be so
reporter.
many people getting
Yeah.
killed
Yeah, he's a
every
reporter.
year.
He's not the story.
Exactly.
Yeah.
A reporter of free press as well.
Yeah.
So shout outs to Joseph Crumb. This is Maria Crumb, ladies and gentlemen. We're not done. We're still going on with this interview, but I just had to interject right there and give a big shout out to Joseph Crumb and let people know, don't let the outfit fool you. You know, Joseph Crumb knows what he's doing. But back to the story, Maria. Uh, so you said your daughter, she had to leave school, and basically here in the community, you looked at as outsiders because of your free speech and how you feel about Boston police. Um, what was there some kind of connection or something you guys got involved with Tim Connolly?
The Captain Tim Connolly from the Boston
Captain.
Police
Yes,
Department.
yes.
Yeah, so we went to a So one of my neighbors uh, mentioned that the FBI. He said one of his contacts in the FBI had told him that they had taken a photo of our window um, back early on in 2018 when we first put it up.
Mm-hmm.
And we thought that was strange, and he wouldn't say anything else about it. So a couple of years back, I think it was like a year ago now, in December of 2019, we went to a community meeting down in Fields Corner here in Dorchester, and Ken Losif started complaining about this whole story with the Boston Latin and the police refusing to investigate and so on. And Captain Connolly was there at that meeting. We weren't aware of it at that point.
Mm-hmm.
And there was another police officer there whose name I can't remember. He goes to a lot of these community meetings. And so Losif was basically, addressing that guy. And Tim Connolly stands up and tells him, well, let's go outside and talk. I'm with the Boston police. And he identifies himself. And so Losif doesn't want to go out there because he knows that the guy is going to frame him up and try to, find some reason to arrest him. Oh, you resisted me. You did this. You dropped a bag of pills. Whatever it is that they typically do. And so anyway, so when we came home, Losif and I figured out that might be the guy who was the contact. He had been in charge of some liaisoning with the Boston Police Department and the Department of Homeland Security.
Mm-hmm.
And interesting enough, he was also in charge of liquor licenses for the Boston Police Department at that time. Like if you wanted to get a liquor license, he had something to do with it.
Mm-hmm.
And so we ended up writing a complaint about him to the Department of Justice and sent that. We never heard back, which is typical.
Of course.
And then a few months later, it ended up that this guy got arrested down in Quincy. His wife had actually been there that night, accused him of domestic assault, domestic violence, whatever. And so there was a story in the paper that they were in court and he was being arraigned and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Eventually, the charges ended up getting dropped because she moved out of state or something.
Okay.
But yeah. So that was the Tim Connolly piece. I don't know if that was the part that.
Yeah, I had kind of got that in the past when he told me that. I had got that part tied up with the Latin high school situation. I thought he was involved with that situation, but
every character in my story has some connection to Boston Latin School.
Right.
Like I Googled these people later, and I find out they all went to Boston Latin School. So if I looked up Tim Connolly, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised to find out he had some connection to the school too.
What are your thoughts on Rachel Rollins, the head DA?
Yeah. Well, she came in on this platform trying to rein in the police and kind of social justice, not prosecuting and the courts not prosecuting like a set of, what is it, like 16 nonviolent crimes, like driving around on a suspended license, things like that.
Mm-hmm.
And I wrote a letter to Rachel Rollins recently about all the things that have happened surrounding that sign over the last couple of years to us, and hopefully, like, someone will look back and say, hey, maybe we should have investigated this, even if it's like there's some statute of limitations and it's too late now, you know, and all these girls are gone, all the guys are gone, they're not at the school anymore, God knows where they are, but at least maybe they can do some like lessons learned or something, and, you know, think about how to move in the future. So anyway, back in December, I sent a letter to her about it all, and I haven't heard back. So.
How about your feelings on how she addresses crime within the urban areas and the way she prosecutes, like, you know, low-level deals and, you know, things of that nature?
I know there's a lot of friction with her and the police. They're not thrilled with that, her stance like that.
Yeah, I heard about that too.
So, I mean, they were very opposed.
Adverse with the police.
When she ran for DA, so Dan Conley, who was the DA before her, had endorsed some other guy to, you know, that was like a big mystery too, why he decided he wasn't going to run again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know what happened with that. I always think there's some backstory that never.
So this is the same Connolly we were speaking about earlier?
No, that's Tim Connolly.
Tim Connolly is who we were speaking about earlier, and they're not related? Okay,
as far as I know. But Dan Connolly had tried to run for mayor at one point, and anyway, then he announced like that he wasn't going to run again, and he endorsed some other guy who has decided to run for DA against Rachel Rollins. And Rachel Rollins ran on that platform that she was against prosecuting these low-level crimes because they create criminal records for racial minorities, typically, who then have a hard time getting jobs and all of this stuff, because then they have a criminal record, and it's for a low-level crime, like driving on a suspended license, stuff like that.
Right.
So if you're like me, you were not in that 1%, you know, you can really relate to the problems that, you know, these people are going to get. And a lot of these people with the police connections and stuff, you know, they may get picked up for that kind of low-level crime, but then it's like, oh, Joey, yeah, he's, you know, the third cousin of the second cook of Frankie, you know, just let him go. He's a good kid, you know, And you have these connections. And so Joey and Frankie, they get off. But, you know, Siobhan and Trayvon over there, you know, they don't have the connection. So they get a record. So, and Rachel Rollins understands that. I think her brother was in prison, something like that. So, yeah.
Okay. And what about the police commissioner, William Grass? How you feel about her?
Honestly, I don't know too much. About him. I know he just started, and the other guy went to Boston College or whatever. So I can't really comment.
Well, I do know he's just like any other police commissioner. He stands by whatever his men say.
I'm not surprised. He won't.
Which we all know is
in a good world, you
not
know,
always true.
Yeah, in a good world, he should, right? But
I believe Sean Ellis, the one who just got out of jail not too long ago, had spent all that time in prison for a murder he didn't commit.
Yeah.
Supposedly he had killed a police officer, and you know, it came up to be that he didn't do it.
Yeah.
And when they had to release him, police commissioner, he said, we're releasing him due to the fact that the officers involved were corrupt officers. So of course, any officer that's been involved in any previous case that's been corrupt, they have to, you know, they have to dismiss that case, which they did in Sean Ellis' case. And he said that he didn't believe that Sean Ellis was not guilty. He believed that he did it. And he said the only reason why they dismissing the case is because the police officers were corrupt. And That didn't. I think as a police commissioner, he could have had a little more integrity in delivering that piece like that instead of
Yeah.
delivering it the way he did. You know.
Well, it's like he's standing behind the corrupt officers who you already know.
Right.
And I mean, technically, you're supposed to be innocent until you're proven guilty. So to just go ahead and say, I think he's guilty, like.
Right. And for the record, ladies and gentlemen, Police Commissioner William G. Gross, he's the one whose name is stamped on every police station in the city that says no audio or video recording. And I approached him about that. Y'all could go back in the files and search that video. But I definitely approached him about that and said, "What's up with that sign that you have on every police station in the city saying no audio or video recording? That's against our constitutional rights." He told me he didn't have no idea what I was talking about. That's what he said.
You think he was telling the truth?
No, because the signs are at almost at every police station in the city. He has to know about it.
Yeah, I've seen it down at C11.
Yeah, they everywhere. They everywhere. A1, B2, C11. They everywhere. So, lastly, I wanted to go into you, Maria Crumb. What are you of Spanish descent?
Yeah, I was born in Cuba.
You was born in Cuba. How long you been here in Boston?
Since 1985. I don't know how, that's maybe 30 years now. Yeah.
And what was your experience
In Boston?
here in Boston since then?
I mean, I really. My experience in Boston has changed.
Let me narrow it down. Let me narrow it down for
Yeah.
you with the police.
I'm so disappointed. I mean, the police are paid by our taxes. My Losif and Tatiana tried to get them to investigate crimes, molestation of minors, rapes of minors. For them not to take a report, throw them out of the station, just not want to hear about it. It's disappointment, I mean, disgust at some level, but, and disbelief. I just can't believe that they would do that. So it's maybe I'm naive, but it's like this institutional thing, and I believe that it's because they know that it's in West Roxbury, and it's like a politically connected class. They don't want to touch it.
Mm-hmm.
They don't want to touch that class, so they're crooks.
But years earlier, from 85, from your arrival to let's say 95, how was your experience during that time?
I didn't really interact with the police during that time.
How about racism? Did you experience racism here?
Oh yes, always. Myself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's subtle. It's subtle.
Mm-hmm. Talk about that for me, about the racism in Boston. I'm from Philadelphia, and I've heard about the racism in Boston.
Yeah.
But I heard about it from, back in the 50s and 60s. And, at one time, there was a generation that had to get bused to school every day. I think,
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe a year or more than that. And they had to go through a whole white neighborhood in Southie. And, it seemed like as the years went by, when the 80s came and the 90s came, everything became Hollywood. Everything was, making a movie here, making a movie there. And Boston has been known for making good movies for years. And I think New York as well. And I think like they painted it over with something glamorous, because when the movie thing came on the scene, it kind of like took your mind away from things, as well as drugs too. So that was I believe that was part of the plan as well, that they introduced drugs on the scene. But it seemed like the racism got kind of lost in Boston.
Well, people don't talk about it. Yeah.
It's there, but
And
I used to always say, well, there's too many people getting high in Boston, so You know, why would you worry about being a racist at the time when you're getting high? And everybody in Boston, you know, of color
Well, you gotta look
participated
at
in
the
getting high.
yeah, you gotta look at the schools. So like you see like all the white people in Boston send their kids to like a parochial, like it's a really Catholic town. So they'll all send them to these like little Catholic schools. And they won't send them to the regular public schools. The Boston public schools are something like 40% Latino right now, maybe like 30% African American, and then there's like a bunch of other minorities. Boston's like really got a lot of different ethnic groups, like Cape Verdean. It's got a big Chinese and Vietnamese population, so it's actually a very diverse city, and that's reflected in the public schools.
It is. It's very diverse.
Yeah, but it's got a very low population of white Anglo-American, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah, I always thought that was low. Always
In the
thought that the
lower
blacks were the lowest in the city.
No. It's not. Blacks are maybe like 15-20% of the city population. I think it's closer to 30% of the Boston Public Schools population. And then when you get into Boston Latin School, though, suddenly it's like blacks are like 12%, Latinos, something similar like that. And then it's all like white and Asian otherwise.
Okay.
So those parochial school kids whose parents didn't let them go to Boston Public Schools in the younger grade, Boston Latin School and the other exam schools, you take an exam to get in. So those kids, they got their nice paid for education, and you know, they didn't have any kids who were as poor, that's families who can afford to pay some kind of tuition already.
Right.
And anyway.
But back to the racism.
Yeah, back to that.
So it kind of like smoothed over for like the 80s and 90s, but it never really smoothed over in the urban communities. But what I think happened is it smoothed over and became systematic. You know, it wasn't no more bullying or, you know, harassing. It was just they jump out their cars, they search you, lock you up, say whatever.
Yeah.
He had drugs on him. Either they played drugs on him or he he assaulted the officer. It was that was always an easy one.
Yeah.
You know. So with racism kind of like, and in fact, they didn't just do it, like you said, this is a very diverse city, so they didn't just do it to blacks. They did it to Cape Verdeans, they did it to blacks, they did it to Dominicans, they did it to Puerto Ricans, they did it to Jamaicans, and they did it to the white boys in Southie too, the ones that was getting on their nerves.
Yeah, because it's also a class thing too, poverty.
Exactly.
Yeah. And there have been some famous cases here. There's a case, the Stewart case back in the 90s, where the guy ended up killing himself after he got some guy framed. He killed his wife up in the Mission Hill neighborhood, and he told, when the police came, he told them that some black guy ran out of the projects over there, and so they framed some guy, and the police were under so much pressure to solve this case. It was a woman who was like 8 months pregnant or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
And so they had some kind of a lineup, and he identified some guy in there, and they had this guy like ready to go to trial and stuff. And I don't know how, I can't remember the details because it was so long ago, but the guy who killed his wife, like things were closing in, like the police were starting to put things together, and it didn't make sense.
Right.
And he ended up jumping off the Tobin Bridge and killing himself in January.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was like a really high profile. And then there was this Sean Drumgold case, he was in prison for years for a murder conviction of a teenage girl, like 13-year-old girl. I think her name was Tiffany. I can't remember the last name. And a lot of the evidence ended up, it was questionable evidence that he was convicted on. He got released later and sued the city for something like $5 million settlement for, yeah. So, again, black guy, again.
Right.
Some big racial crimes, yeah.
But as far as you said you have received racism since you've been in the city, in your early years.
Yeah, because obviously, I mean, everybody can tell that I'm an ethnic person. You know, you look at me, and it's like a subtle thing. Like, say I go down to the police station, I'm not necessarily believed my allegations if I go report something.
Mm-hmm.
Or if I go to a meeting or something and I want to talk about whatever, it's just discounted, you know. People won't talk to me afterwards. Like, this is a typical situation.
Right.
So you go to one of these community meetings, and after the meeting's over, people will get into these little groups of 2 and 3, and they'll sit there and talk. And I could be sitting, nobody will talk to me. Like, I'm not going to be talked to. So that kind of thing. It's just like a cold shoulder.
Right.
It's not, it's
Well,
not like
when
this.
you came to the city, where were you live? What area did you live at first?
I was in college before then. I was at Penn State in Pennsylvania. So I
okay.
came over here right after that. And that was like just a small town kind of thing.
Uh-huh. Very
And,
small.
Oh, tiny. Yeah. You know, State College. Yeah, you're from Philly. So basically, I grew up all up and down the East Coast. So my parents, when they came from Cuba, they lived in New York City for a while, and then in northern New Jersey, and then they ended up living in Florida, and Orlando, and Miami. So I was like all over the place before then, and I mean, racism is everywhere, but it's a special kind here that you never see, like groups of mixed race and ethnic people hanging around together. Like, this is something you'll see in almost every other city, but not here.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
What made you stay?
Well, events, you know. I was working here, I had a job, and I had friends and like that, and then I met Losif, and then, you know, you get tied to a place just by things happening. So I don't know if I'll stay much longer.
Right.
Yeah, that's like another thing. Since we put that sign up, there's just been so much harassment and so much trouble. Like, now my autistic son is thinking we got to move out of here. He's doing that. It's getting him all anxious all the time.
Well, before we wrap up, is there anything that you would like to say as far as the status quo of the Boston police, how you feel about them, where you think they should gear towards, or what you think they shouldn't do? Any words on that?
They should do their job and investigate crimes. And you know, they're in fear. They don't want to touch things because it's like a political. It's political.
I've noticed. I have to admit. I've noticed they're out there, but they're not doing their thing like they were doing.
Yeah.
And prior to a year ago, before I started, and all the way up until I say maybe about August, September, they've cooled out a lot.
Well, with all the events this summer, the George Floyd and all that.
They cool. They still do their thing. I see them on the side streets and always pulling people. They always pulling people over.
Yeah.
On the main highways.
Yeah.
You know, they still going to do that. That generates revenue, but they've cooled out a whole lot. I hope it continues to be that way.
We're in a special time right now. You know, I hope people don't get complacent. Because people were really all riled up when Donald Trump was in office, and like everything was Donald Trump's fault, you know. And now I'm really afraid people are going to become complacent again. They think like there's some new administration in Washington D.C. and then suddenly everything over here in Boston is going to change. And it's not. If people don't keep the pressure on, you know, pressure is what gets things. Like you said, you know, in the 80s, things became like glorified with the Hollywood movies and stuff. Right. And you look at all the movies about Boston. What are they all about?
They're all about
crooked cops and mobsters, racism and corruption.
Mm-hmm.
Like, why is it that's the story of Boston?
That's the history of Boston. Well, Maria, I want to thank you for this interview. I want to thank you for inviting me over.
All right, thanks.
Obviously, we won't get Losif on tonight, y'all, but, you know, it's not over with. We'll get to talk with Losif in the future. But once again, Maria Crumb, ladies and gentlemen, I want y'all to give a big shout out to Maria Crumb for giving us a little history on the sign that she has on the window. Boston police rape kids. It's not basically Boston police raping kids, but it's basically them allowing the situation to happen, which had happened, 2014, you said? Starting in 2014
Yeah.
for a few years. And
Yes.
they've been protesting against that since, and it's fell on deaf ears. So that's the reason for me giving y'all this interview. She had something to say about it. She wanted to make it clear, and I was the one to deliver that for y'all. Like I said, hopefully we'll have LOSIF in the future. But I want y'all to give a shout out to Maria Crumb for joining us tonight, inviting me over. We signing off on that. Say bye, Maria.
All right. Take care. Thanks.